Hello, good afternoon. My name is Rita KUSI. I am the CEO of KUSI Consulting, Keeping You Simply Intact Consulting. And I want to welcome you to the first episode of 30 Minutes with HR, a partnership program with the Association of African Universities, AAU. Today, thank you first of all for joining us. Today we're going to have a discussion about human resources and its many functions. Now you can watch this episode live on Facebook at the Association of African Universities Facebook page, and you can also follow on Twitter at AAU_67. So I have a guest here with me, Mr. Kojo Amissah, and I'm actually going to have him introduce himself before we get the conversation started. So, Mr. Amissah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, and good day to all our listeners. My name is Kojo Amissah. I wear two hats. My primary job is I'm a principal consultant for CITAM Ltd. We are a training, consulting, and recruitment firm. And I also act as the president for SHRM Forum Ghana, which is an umbrella of Society for Human Resource Management, which happens to be the largest HR professional body globally.
Nice. I'm very excited to have you join us today, and I thought what better way to start our 13-episode HR show than having you on this show, because I've actually been a member of SHRM, the global chapter, for over 10 years, and I know how important it is. So I'm sure I'll have you talk about that, yeah?
Thank you very much.
But we're going to get started. Today, there's actually a scenario that I want to share with everyone, and I want to read it word for word because it is an incident that happened just last week, Thursday, okay? So this is what happened. A statement by a Minister for Information, Mustafa Abdul Hamid, on Thursday said President Nana Akufo-Addo had directed Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, and her two deputies to hand over their respective schedules to the Director of Human Resources at the Commission, while thanking them for their service to the country. And when I read that statement, if you're not familiar with HR and what the functions are, automatically you ask yourself, why would this incident be directed to HR? What was HR's role in this incident?
Yeah, I think even though it's an unfortunate situation, this is also something that brings the essence of HR to the public domain. When you look at HR actually manages the entry into the organization, what happens to the people throughout, and then the exit. And what happens to people in the organization, one of them is disciplinary issues. So then we would assume that there was a misconduct somewhere, but you couldn't prove it until you set up a committee. So if you all follow the news, I think there was a committee set up and all of that. And in all of this, HR will be the supervising authority to make sure that due process is followed, because the people involved are employees. So this goes to every other employee. So HR will make sure the employees are heard, and then the committees are set up properly, and then they follow laid down procedures within the organization. And then once the committee comes up with a decision, then they follow whatever repercussions that are spelled out in the policies of the organization. This happened to be a national organization, so most of their policies are actually enshrined in the law. So then the law took over. So if we took it out of this EC and went to any other organization, it's the same process, because somebody would be accused of having done something wrong, and then HR would come in and he says, well, let's investigate. So you hear people say, oh, disciplinary committee, we are sending people to disciplinary committee, and the outcome, and then they apply the necessary sanctions.
Okay, I think the role of HR gets, I think there's a misconception a lot of times, right, where employers or employees actually feel that HR managers are really there just to represent the organization. So how can we diffuse that way of thinking? What do you tell employees who feel that HR is not there for them, but more for the organization?
Okay, so my advice is all employees should make it their business to understand all the HR policies laid down in the organizations. So organizations have what they call HR manual, which has all the policies in details. And then some of them to have condensed this into very nice to read formats. They call it employee handbooks. Because when you read this is what the organization, not HR, obviously is helped by HR to develop, but this is what the organization has put down as this is what we do when this happens, this is what we do when that happens. So really the job of HR is to make sure that it is applied to everybody in a consistent, fair, and non-discriminatory manner. So if you don't know about the existence of these policies, and something happens and HR comes to apply the policies, then you see it as, oh, HR is just out to get employees. But I think if we all understand the organizational policies, HR's role is to make sure it's applied consistently, and I think we will understand that they are fair in what they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do a list. If we had to list the different functions of human resource, you talked about entry into the organization, so obviously recruitment. We've talked about policies, making sure that policies get implemented. Yes. So what else? What else is HR there to do? Yeah,
I think the role of HR, first and foremost, is to understand the business. Okay, so if you're a bank, how do we make money? How do we satisfy our shareholders? If you are EC, what is the role of the electoral commissioner? You know, we have to make sure we have fair and free elections in the country. If you work for, let's say, Coca-Cola, you know we have to create Coke and sell and all of that. So the first thing is HR has to understand the business. And then you have the business, and then you have people working with the business.
Yes.
So then HR, the first function of HR is to create a strategy which will align the people with the business. So once you do that, then you now have to go look for the people, and that's where recruitment comes in.
Exactly.
And even recruiting the people, you see, if you understand the strategy, it comes with a whole lot of stuff. Probably we don't have time to talk about it, but the strategy will talk about the kind of culture you are looking for, okay, to create in the organization. So when you are recruiting, maybe the technical manager is looking for somebody who is technically sound, but HR supports that recruitment process to make sure that beyond the technical competencies, this guy will come into the organization and fit into the culture so that we can together deliver. HR has to make sure that you are engaged. When we say you are engaged, you know, people come to work and it's like, well, end of month, I'm waiting for my salary, right?
Yes.
So engagement means HR has to make sure we work with line managers to make people interested in their jobs. Okay. So meaning people will go above and beyond the normal call of duty to make sure that the organization is doing well. The other thing is training and development. HR has to make sure that people have the skills that we need today. Most importantly, you recruit people because of some skills that they have today. But HR actually sits back and say, when we look at this organization, in the next 3, 4, 5 years, what kind of skills would the organization need to actually be successful? So then we look at what you brought in and we say, how do we develop you to have the skills of the future? So when you look at it, training and development actually focuses on what you have today to deliver and what you would need tomorrow to help the organization to continue to be profitable. We have reward management. Okay, most people will talk about salaries, but there are so many other programs that you can put in place to make sure people are happy. Nobody works for free. Okay, some company will pay you $100, another one $200, but you'll be surprised that the $100 employee in some cases are happy because there are other reward programs that the organization has put in place to make sure that yes, we are not paying you $200, but there are other incentives that make you happy. So they will look at reward. Okay, they will look at the let's say grievance and discipline. Okay, when people talk about HR being the, let's say, the puppet of management, they are really looking at discipline. where employee has done something wrong. But HR also looks at grievance, meaning when an employee is not happy about something that management is doing, those processes are also there. And it can go on and on. We have employee relations, right? Which is, how do we make sure that there's a congenial atmosphere? HR has to look into that. In some organizations, they are represented by an outside organization, which is the union. Okay. HR has to deal with the union to make sure that there's a congeniality between the employees and then the outside employees and management.
Exactly.
But then the employees are always represented by the outside entity, which is the union. So HR coordinates all those issues and makes sure both sides are on the same page. The other function for HR, for example, would be CSR, corporate social responsibility. HR has to make sure that basically the community in which we operate, people are happy with us as in the organization and what we do. If you go to some of the mining communities, there are times where they come up with placards and they are blocking the entrance to. So HR has to make sure that we have systems in place to understand the needs of the organization and the needs of the people within the community and make sure that both can work together seamlessly. And then it goes on and on. Maybe the last one I talk about is we are in a global world. Okay, so HR is HR, just like a mechanic is a mechanic. But then when you transcend borders, you have different laws, you have different cultures. So an HR person has to make sure that the different cultures that we have in organization actually work well. Previously, if you saw a foreigner in Ghana, probably they were an expatriate.
Exactly.
But now, put in an advert and expatriates are applying just like locals. So we have different cultures in the same organization. Are we the same? Probably not. As a human being, yes, we are the same. But we all have our own inherent characteristics. So how do you harness these different characteristics into a uniform culture that will promote the organization? So I can go on and on and on, but I think this is part of what HR represents for the organization. But for our listeners, I think I just want to emphasize on one of them, which is the strategic role of HR. Meaning the role of HR is to ensure that the company achieves its objectives.
Exactly.
So then how do you do that? Then you have the people within the organization that you have to utilize effectively.
Exactly.
Again, you go on, I think one of the primary goals of HR is employee satisfaction.
Exactly.
Okay, they've done a lot of studies which show that satisfied employees produce more. So how do you get your employees to be satisfied and ensure that they actually produce more? And
that is actually the role of HR. Exactly. So the role of HR is actually quite significant to the organization.
I think so.
And whether or not they grow, right, as an organization and achieve their targets.
Yes. This is how I look at it. This is the organization, these are the employees. So HR's role is to make sure year in, year out, employees are growing, the organization is growing. There has to be.
There's a balance.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much for just being so insightful. You know, so thank you all again for joining us. This is the first episode of 30 Minutes with HR, and I hope you're watching right now. We're live on Facebook on the Association of African Universities Facebook page, and you can also follow the conversation on Twitter at AAU_67. And again, we're just having such an insightful conversation with Mr. Kojo Amissah. You know, there's a lot of perception about HR, and hopefully, we hope this 13-episode show clears it up for our viewers. Now, if you're watching and you have any questions that you would like to send in, you can actually comment below the live video, and then we'll be able to hopefully answer your questions live on air, or we can do it in the next episode. Or you can also look for KUSI Consulting all across your social media. You can send us a message in our inbox, or you can give us a call at 055-407-1727. Yeah? Okay. Actually, it's 055-408-1727. Shame on me. So now the next question that I want to ask is, how important is it for any organization, whether big or large, whether large or small, to have the HR presence within their organization? And by HR presence, I mean either in-house, on the premises, or maybe outsourcing an HR consultant to play that role.
Okay. I think this is very important, right? This is what it says, tell me what the HR can do that the line manager cannot do. So HR has the perception of being the recruiter for the organization. And some line managers say, look, I recruit my own people. Okay, so then why do we need HR? Okay, so I can train my own people. Why do we need HR? But I think let's stick with recruitment, right? First of all, you can focus on technical recruitment and recruit somebody who is very competent at what they do. So they can come in and do. Culturally, they may not fit. Behaviorally, they may not fit, and that can create problems within the organization. So you see that you have two technically competent people working in an organization, and because they don't connect well, culturally they are different, behaviorally they are different, it actually goes against the organization.
Exactly.
Or go and recruit wrongly, and you can be sued, okay, because the line manager would just do this thing without recourse to discrimination and all of those things. They don't have the
expertise. There's
exactly.
No expertise to
so, and again, if you're a line manager and an employee does something, right, and you don't like it, your first inclination is get him out. And you can get him out and find the organization in court for the subsequent months. So this is where HR comes in with the technical expertise. If you want to fire somebody, the organization has a right to fire somebody, but there is the proper way of firing somebody. You need an HR. When it comes to payroll, obviously I can call Rita and give you $200. I can call Mary and give her $400. I can call Joseph and give $500, all doing the same job. I am the technical manager, and it's okay. But guess what? Rita finds out, Joseph finds out, and all of that, and it creates a problem. Now, all these sharp people you have brought into the organization, all of a sudden are not working well because somebody thinks there's lack of equity. Okay, so you ask yourself, even if we think our salaries are okay, what if we compare it to other jobs outside our organization? So how do you price a job? It's a technical stuff. Let's say if you took a manufacturing company, you have a marketing department which does all the analysis and comes up with the price of, let's say, this iPhone. Okay, how do we price a job? It's a technical thing that you have to do. It's called job evaluation. I mean, I can't even complete the whole job evaluation explanation here. It takes so that it brings equity. Equity means I don't think I have to make the same salary as my colleague or my boss. However, my boss' salary, I should be able to, in my mind, say, oh, yeah, he deserves it.
You should be able to.
Yes, I should be able to. Yeah. So how do you do it? So when you leave HR out of the loop, this is where arbitrary managers will just come up and say, oh, let's pay this 2,000, let's pay this 4,000, let's pay this. And then that in the end creates problems. I can go on and on and on. When you talk about training, for example, it's another way. There are different ways of evaluating success and the impact of training. It's very technical. Well, at times we all say, oh, we need Microsoft training. And then we take people on Microsoft training. Has the training delivered its intended consequences or desired results? And probably we don't know. There's a technical way of measuring and evaluating the impact. So let's say if the training costs us $10,000, right? Has the organization benefited, let's say, more than 10,000, say 20,000, or it was business as usual? So even the training dollars, HR has a methodology to determine the return on investment for our training dollar. So yes, a lot of line managers believe they can do without HR, but I think in the end they get it wrong. In the end they get it wrong.
I definitely agree with you. Would you agree, though, that perhaps maybe someone who's an entrepreneur who's just starting a business might not need human resource functions on the level as someone who's running like a corporate a large organization,
yes,
right?
Yes.
They might, because they're not, obviously they're not on the same level.
Yes.
So would you agree in that case?
Yes, okay. So here's the thing. Maybe I didn't talk about my background, but I have an MBA in entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And when you go through Entrepreneurship 101, they say the first thing you want to do when you are getting into a business is to find a good lawyer. Okay. You have to find a good accountant. That was a traditional mindset. And then all these technologies that you can buy the cheapest one on the market and get it sorted. However, now people are saying at least get a good HR. And the lawyer, you don't engage them on your premises because you don't have that much work for the lawyer. But you may have a retainership with a lawyer. All right, you may have a retainership with an accountant. You may have a retainership with an HR person. Okay. So meaning each time you want to take HR-related decision, just like you want to take a legal-related decision, you call a lawyer. If you want to take HR-related decision, you call your HR consultant. Exactly. You say, oh, this is what I'm going to do. What's your view? This is the policy we are trying to create. What's your view? Okay. So you may not have the need for a full-time HR embedded in the organization. But I think day-to-day consultation with an HR expert will help your business do well.
Definitely. Yes. So they should consider getting someone on a part-time
HR, accountant, level. And a lawyer. Okay. You need it as an entrepreneur.
You've heard that. You hear it here first, right? Okay. All right, good. So what are some of the issues? We have just a few minutes, so we're going to wrap up shortly. What are some of the issues that if I'm an employee and I'm facing on the job, can I present to the HR manager?
Yes. Most of the times, HR is there. Most HR are supposed to have open door policy. Open door means employee can walk in and have issues. It may be issues which is personal to you. You have a problem at home. You may have financial issues. So
they're counselors, would you say?
They are not counselors, but they are supposed to guide you. Okay, so if I go to HR and I said, oh, I have financial problem, I have drug problem, I have a marital problem, HR is supposed to point you into the right direction. So when you look at it, they have what they call employee assistance program. Basically, HR creates a program and they have external entities. So if I come and I said, I think I'm depressed, it's a, oh, our counselor is Dr. ABCD, this location, and you go there anonymously and you get checked. Financial problems, you know. So HR puts up a program that helps to assist employees in difficulty, because the HR wants to make sure that all employees are happy and are able to do the job. However, some of the issues, like you are having challenges with technical skills, HR will normally work with you and your line manager to make sure your technical skills are honed in properly so that you can deliver. So what I'm saying is, don't go and tell HR that I have alcohol problem, I have this. You just say I have a problem, I need help, and HR will direct you to the prescribed way to get a result. And also for the HR people watching, please don't turn yourself into a counselor or financial counselor, or at times they go and say, oh, tell me, I'm listening. That's not what you're supposed to do. Professionally, you're supposed to make the proper referral for the employee to get appropriate help.
Wow. This is very, very good stuff. I really hope you're taking notes. And the good thing is, if you're not, you can always come back and watch this episode on the Association of African Universities Facebook page. And KUSI Consulting will also have it up on their YouTube page at some point today. So thank you so much for joining us. You know, so I'll have you maybe share some few words about SHRM and what you're doing, and perhaps if right now, if you have any available positions that you want to share with our viewers and how they can apply.
Let me come with the available positions, because that is what you talk to people about HR, you talk about strategy and all that. In there, they ask you for a job.
Yes.
Okay. And I think with the job situations, you would have to contact us. Normally, you send us a CV through info@citamgh.com. The CITAM is CITAMGH.com. And basically with a CV and a little description of the kind of job you do, because we have requests every now and then, but like and then in some cases too, we work with your CV and sell your CV. You know, so recruitment and job placement is just like selling iPhone. You need to get a good CV and go to an employer and say, this CV is a good one, I've spoken to the person and all of that. So it's a process. So normally when you meet an HR person, the first thing is, oh, find me a job. Exactly. Yes, it's possible, but it's a process. So I think you can actually contact us through the info@citamga.com. But just a little bit about SHRM. SHRM stands for Society for Human Resource Management, and is the largest HR professional body based in the US. And it currently has about 300,000 members globally, and from I think 180 countries. Exactly. Ghana, we are about 300, and then we meet on a regular basis with programs and then educate business leaders. So most of our programs is geared towards HR and the business community to understand the role of HR. Because I think one of the challenges HR faces in our sphere is the lack of support from leadership. Exactly. Because most of the time they think, oh, when the two people are fighting, go to HR. When we need to recruit somebody, go to HR. But when production is failing, we don't mention HR. When we are not selling, we don't. But those are the times you need HR. You really don't need HR for all this administrative and operational stuff. We are not selling. Why are we not selling? HR has to decipher, diagnose the problem to really figure out whether it's a lack of skill, which we can do, or at times it's a lack of will, meaning motivation. They are not motivated, and HR can come up with programs to motivate employees to deliver. So I think the other advice I'm giving to those who are watching is, the problems you basically push to HR should not be when two people are fighting. It should be rather when business is not doing well. Okay, we are not selling. We are making so many mistakes at the factory floor. We are not producing the quantities. Our quality is good. Perception about the organization is bad. And then you consult HR, and HR work with the various line managers to resolve these problems.
Thank you very much. You didn't mention the jobs that are available, though. Can you mention the? I want you to mention the jobs.
Well, I think. I don't know. So we have a couple of HR jobs available, and I think a couple of finance jobs available as well. Yes, but I think the recruitment is broad. So, yeah, I mean, for job seekers, just contact us, and then we'll work through and see what is available.
Definitely. So you hear it here first. You know, you can definitely reach out to, is it info@citamgh.com to learn of.
And I can also share my phone number if
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, the phone number is 020-422-4826. And the name is Kojo Amissah. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amissah, for joining us. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in to our very first episode of 30 Minutes with HR. I'm really excited about next week's episode, where we are going to welcome two guests. I'm not going to tell you who they are just yet. You have to tune in. But next week, we're going to share with you some job searching strategies for job seekers, and also for employers, how they can find the best fit talent for their organization. So I hope you tune in. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to visit the Association of African Universities Facebook page. You can also reach out to info@KUSI Consulting.com, or you can give us a call, 055-408-1727, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you.
Thank you.